Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm trying something out here. I'm just learning a new tech thing. See if I can do it. It worked the other day, but doesn't look like it's gonna work now. Oh, let's see. There we go. All right, so please tell me, and you can do thumbs up, or if you're already sitting a distance from your computer, you can like that, or can you hear the music that I'm playing through your computer? Okay, and the level between my voice and the music, should my voice go up or the music go down? Let me see a show of hands for music down. It's okay? All right, so let me see, just a moment here. If the level is okay, where the music is not overpowering my voice, can you just go like this? All right, great. Okay, good. Because on your end, if you mute your computer down, if you take the volume down, you lose both my voice and the music. On my end, I can make the music less. And right now I have it on my computer up pretty high, so I have some room to go. I can't make my voice more without shouting at you, which I'm not inclined to do, as you guys know. So glad to hear from you that it's working. I'm going to put myself back on speaker.
Music is too loud.
Say again?
The music is a little loud.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How is that compared to my voice now? The music is halfway down from where
Better.
it was. Okay.
Better.
Great. That's what I want to know. So I'm looking up at you at a monitor, which is why you're looking up at my face. Yeah, it is what it is. Okay. Thank you. Good. Alrighty. So welcome. We're going to settle in to get started. And we'll start with the seated meditation, and then we'll be moving to the yoga mat. And I put this in earlier in the chat, that some of the yoga props for today. And don't worry if you don't have them. I'm just going to put it once more for people who are signing in now. And if you don't have the props, of course, you're going to improvise. It's okay. Great. Okay, good to see you. Let's take a comfortable seat and we'll get started. You can rest your hands in your lap. We're going to review a pranayama from yesterday, and we'll take that pranayama into our practice today. So you can close your eyes if you like. And let your attention come inward. The music I'm playing is the sound of Om, with a little bit of other filtered music on top of it, and it was created by meditativemind.org. When you close your eyes, open your ears to listen to the sounds of morning, including the sound of my voice, the sound of the music, and the sounds of life around you, whether that's outside the window, if you have bird song, or inside your home, the sounds of other mammals waking up. Our ears are amazing structures, designed to hear at the middle ear and the inner ear. At the middle ear, we distinguish background sound from the sound of human voices. And this is part of the survival instinct in our species. We long to be heard. We also long to hear each other. There's that middle ear function that lets us hear human voices distinct from background sound. And then in the inner ear, you can hear the background sound, the ambient sound of life. And then what we might call like the spiritual ear, we learn to listen inwardly to ourselves, and that wisdom that is collective and needs to come through us in its own kaleidoscope way. Now begin to listen inwardly to the experience of the breath. And I'm going to recommend that you place the tip of your tongue behind the top 2 teeth. Make the back of the throat more hollow, more open. And then begin the Ujjayi breath like a very gentle whisper. So your inner ear is hearing the breath pass through the back of your sinuses during the inhalation. And same thing for the exhale, that you hear that the breath moves through the sinuses on the way out the nose as well. And make the sound of the breath for right now just very subtle. It's like a little whisper, because you're not doing a dynamic practice at this very moment. You don't need a dynamic experience of the breath. Now in a moment we're going to change this just slightly. I'm going to ask you to increase the dynamic experience of the inhale, but just slightly. And then during the exhale, you're going to blow out like you're blowing out through a straw. But this morning, instead of the milkshake straw, as I said yesterday, it's going to be more like a cocktail straw, a tiny thin straw. So the exhale breath is going to be more silent. It will take longer to happen and will require more tone in your deep low belly. Let's try the first one together, and then we'll do several ones in silence. Breathe in through the nose. And then like a tiny cocktail straw, make the transition from the end of the exhale into the inhale smoothly. And what you might start noticing is that the inhale will have this whispering sound, and the exhale is nearly silent to the inner ear. Even though some light sound is made at the lips, the exhale inside the throat will be nearly silent. At your own pace, complete one more full round of this breath. And then rest in silence, so the breath that's breathing you can simply do its job. And listen to the influence of this breath practice on the radio broadcast of your mind. And then please bring your hands together at your heart. And at the end of each line of the chant, listen for the silence. This is the Gayatri mantra. Om Bhurbhuva Suvah Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Bhurbhuva Suvah Tatsavitur Varenyam
devasya dhimohi dhiyo yo na prachodayata. Om Bhurva Suvah Tat Savitor Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimohi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayata. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. And with your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart, making your personal dedication for today. And you can release your hands and please quietly open your eyes. And I'm going to switch to full screen gallery mode so I can see you. I will not be able to read the chats, but Rebecca is here and can help with such things. So we're going to come onto the floor now, and I have to switch to my other camera, so just a moment. I am getting my skills together here. So, video. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to be doing involves your rolled blanket. That's my blue rolled blanket you can see there. And it's also going to involve your yoga strap. Okay, and let me take this down so I can see my full monitor. That way I get to see you during your practice. So, come down to the floor, please. And I'm going to demonstrate with this blue blanket in contrast to my outfit and the yoga mat. So when you lie down, reach for your yoga strap. You don't need your 12-pound bag of rice yet. Oh, let me get my microphone. That is a 12-pound bag of rice in the corner of my room right there. So you don't need that just yet. I'll explain that when we get to Shavasana. But so for right now, please lie on your back with your rolled yoga blanket. If you don't have a rolled yoga blanket, you can snugly roll up your yoga mat as a substitute, which means you're lying on the carpet or on the floor where you are. This is going to be a support for your hips, like so. Without the blanket, take your right foot up in your strap, in your bathrobe sash, your necktie, in the dog leash, whatever you're using, and stretch your left leg straight out on the floor. And just notice the capacity that you start with right now. What is the capacity for mobility in your right hip and grounding in your left hip? And take a little mental snapshot of that. And then take your foot down from the strap. Take this rolled blanket and place it directly under the right trochanter. Right? So the blanket does not need to be under your side waist. It's really just right behind your hip socket on the back of the thigh bone. And you take the same strap and notice the change in your capacity for your leg in terms of its flexibility. Yeah. So that's kind of like the science experiment of why we're using the yoga prop. It doesn't mean that we're not good at yoga. Right now, it means that the back of the femur, right at the trochanter, it has support. So you're going to find that your range of motion is able to change. So now press from your right hip up into your right heel. Relax your left arm out to the side. And energize and root down through your left leg. And then allow your attention simply to come to the breath, entering and passing through the back hollow of the throat. Listen for the tone of the breath there, for how your inner ear is hearing that sound. It's like a neurological message for your brain, your mind, and your body. And I believe that you can listen to the sound of the breath in there and still keep track of caring for your physical body. So you're not zoning out by tuning into the breath, you're actually zoning in. Our ability to keep our mind concentrated right now is probably a little bit scattered by daily life events, global events, personal events. So practicing this delicate concentration at the back of the throat, this is a way to reset your concentration, your capacity for attention, and to quiet the noise of the mind. And with the support of the blanket right behind your trochanter, just begin to take your right leg out to the side. Only a small bit is actually needed. I would like you to keep your left hip grounded and keep the blanket right behind your trochanter. It's going to be a support to you. Please rotate your right toes and your right knee externally. So your right knee should be turning towards the floor, your right toes towards the floor. And though you might have a very beautiful and strong sensation on the inside of your right leg, come back to the sound of the breath that you can hear, like the constancy of the sound of Om. Now, for those for whom your practice is well established and you have brought a pretty clear mind, not a busy mind this morning, you could add a gentle counting of the breath to make the inhale and exhale equal to each other. If you came with a busy mind and it's hard to listen just to the sound of the breath, first deepen your attention to that. I don't want you to start counting the breath if the mind is having trouble. Sometimes we begin counting and we actually become a little bit manipulative or coercive with ourselves. Let's do 3 breath cycles more, listening. There will be a little silence in the pauses of the breath. You have this constant background hum that is actually silence, and in yoga we say it's the sound of Om. And you hear the breath, a little bit like the sound of Om in your inner ear, and the silence between those breaths. And then when you next inhale, tone your left low belly and float your right leg back up to center. Now, let's see what your capacity is for your right leg to come towards your head comfortably. Bend your right knee and take your right elbow to the inside of your right knee. And then aim your right leg gently out to the right again. And let's keep the elbow and the knee in contact with each other. So your elbow can actually help you to open the right leg to the right. With your knee bent, some people call this the happy baby pose or a variation on that. I'm using a yoga strap to still hold my foot because it's more comfortable for my right hip joint. If you'd like to hold your foot with your hand, you can certainly try that. Whatever choice you make, listen for how the breath reflects your body's experience of the choice. Listen for any moment where the breath becomes rough or agitated, staccato. I like to say more gelato, not more staccato. And if you are someone who's counting the breath, notice any fluctuations in the length of your inhale or your exhale. And then as you next exhale, bend your right knee more deeply and bring your right foot across towards your left hand. You might choose to hold the strap with your left hand, or you can hold your right foot with your left hand and put the strap aside. And you may take your right hand up against your right knee just to gently suggest that the right knee opens away from the chest and that your right ankle comes towards your left shoulder. This is like a lying down version of a pose that we call pigeon pose. Take a deep breath in, please. And as you exhale, curl your chest and head up towards your right ankle. And then inhale and roll your upper back down towards the floor slowly. And your head will arrive there. And then exhale and curl up again towards your right ankle. Root your left hip, left leg, make the heel longer. And inhale to roll down through your upper thoracic spine so your head comes to the floor last, that the chin doesn't pop up in the process. Okay, once more, exhale to curl up. And then inhale to roll down slowly. And now release your right foot to the floor, put the blanket aside, and when you take your right leg out on the floor, you can act like a starfish, just having a moment. Nothing to do in the normally very busy starfish life. Let the starfish reflex, relax, and watch what's happening through your right leg. You might, of course, notice the difference between your right leg and your left leg. That's a very real thing. And then take your blanket and put it on the other side of your mat, on your left side, and reach for your yoga strap. Okay, so you're going to take the left foot up in the strap, but before you do that, please pick up your hips and slide the blanket under the outside of your left trochanter. So that's that bony thing at the back of your thigh. Just before the other part of the thigh meets the hip socket, there is this bony outcropping called the greater trochanter. So take your left foot up in the strap now. Stretch your right leg straight out on the floor. And encourage your left leg to come towards your head. Whatever amount your right leg can still stay grounded. And then listen again to the inner sound of the breath. So important that we can have that quality of listening in there. So your body will make a certain amount of effort. It will have a pattern where you have resistance or a stagnation that feels like strong sensation. You'll have places where you feel like there's good energy moving, and all of that is occurring in what we call the Annamaya Kosha, the physical body. It's supported by the other layers of the body, but to listen to the breath sound in the back of the throat, you're listening to the Pranamaya Kosha, and that settles the mind so you can hear past the Manomaya Kosha into the Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is the body of intuition. So you're going to be more likely able to hear the signals from your body intelligence. So you now glide your left leg out to the left. Listen for the intelligence with which your body can move, not habitual reaction, not like a photo finish of the pose in your mind, but what's happening right now as you open your left leg out to the left. My hope is that the blanket also prevents your right hip from becoming ungrounded, that you feel really the right leg is your anchor. Listen to the sound of the breath. To help your mind go inward towards Vijnanamaya Kosha, means the body of intuition and wisdom. Let's do 3 breath cycles more, please. And then as you next exhale, tone your right low belly, float your left leg up a few degrees, then bend your left knee and place your left elbow on the inside of your left knee, and encourage this outward action. You might think of this like if these were standing poses, you were just doing triangle pose, and you are now mimicking the side angle pose as a standing pose. That's why I'm actually saying we'll take the left thigh out to the side, the left knee goes to the side, the left shin and foot. We don't keep it directly overhead, though we could keep the left thigh over the chest, and that would be like doing the basic lunge from the sun salutation. Acknowledge your efforts to concentrate, to listen, to breathe. And then you can glide your left knee so it's a little bit more bent. Bring your left ankle towards your right hand. You may release the yoga strap, it's not needed for most of you. Some may want to put the yoga strap into your right hand to hold your left foot. And with your left hand, gently guide your left knee away from your chest. And inhale smoothly through the nose. And exhale, curl up. Then inhale, roll your upper back down towards the floor slowly. And exhale to curl up. Inhale to roll gently down. And exhale to curl up. And then roll your upper back to the floor. Put your left foot back down to the floor. Take the blanket roll aside. Put your strap aside. And come again to the starfish pose. Giving the starfish, the busy life of the starfish, a chance to relax. Notice what's happening down through your left leg. And then please bend both knees and roll to your side to come up to sitting. Okay, so as you come up to sitting, we're going to be stepping towards a few standing poses. And this is where I'm going to recommend that you use your yoga blocks. We will use the sun salutation and then we'll move into these standing poses. So, okay. How is your blanket roll for your yoga pose there? Okay? And let me know. Okay. Yeah, so I know some of you, when you do Supta Padangusthasana, it doesn't feel like your leg's going to go very far. Let me ask Christine specifically because I can see her and I know her hamstrings. Was that easier with the blanket roll? Okay, great, great, great. All right, so let's take the two blocks for Surya Namaskar and place them at the front of your yoga mat and come up to standing. Okay, when you rise up, join your hands together at your heart. And standing in your full height, press down into your footprints and reach up through the inner central channel of the body towards the crown of your skull. Now we want to sense the breath goes to the back hollow of the throat on the inhale, and then it moves smoothly up and down through this central channel. Here's the first inhale. Sweep your arms down, wide and up. And then exhale, arms wide, and as you bow forward, come down to Uttanasana, noticing the length of your exhale, move with that pace. Now inhale, arms wide, rise back up to standing at the pace of your inhalation. Lift your gaze as the heels of your hands meet. Exhale, bring your eyes down to your fingertips as you arrive in Anjali Mudra. Now we're going to use the tiny cocktail straw exhale. So inhale the hands down, wide and up. Exhale like a tiny cocktail straw, come forward. Try to pace your movements with this new length to the exhale. So you're going to complete the physical movements as you complete the exhalation. Inhale through the nose, rise back up. Exhale like a cocktail straw. And then relax to receive the next inhale. Now we'll do nose breathing. First during Namaskar, we're going to add to the sequence. So inhale, raise your arms, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Exhale through the nose. Inhale, glide your heart forward. And also this morning, lift your gaze forward. Exhale, take your left toes back to your basic lunge pose. Root down through your right heel. Inhale to rise up, crescent lunge. We're going to stay upright. As you exhale, press from your right hip to your right heel and straighten your right leg. As you inhale, bend your right knee into the crescent lunge, but let the inhale keep the upper body light and bright. Exhale, root from your right hip to your right heel strongly. Straighten the right leg. Inhale, crescent lunge. Exhale to straighten your right leg. As you press into your foot, imagine that you're rotating your toes to the right and your heel to the center of your mat. And then inhale and bend your right knee again. So we aren't actually going to move the front foot. This is isometric. Let's do it once more. When you exhale, press from your right hip to your right heel, straighten your leg. Imagine you're turning your heel in and your toes out. And then once more, inhale into your crescent lunge. And now exhale, bow over your front leg. Please lightly touch the two blocks. And with your in-breath, step forward. Bring your heart forward and your gaze forward. And then exhale, take your right toes back. Inhale, rise to your crescent lunge. Yep, good job. And as we stay here, we're going to use the exhale to straighten the left heel into the left foot. And you want to have a sense you're rotating your left foot, toes out, heel in. And inhale, come down to your crescent lunge, keeping the inner body bright. Let's do this several times. Exhale to straighten. So I'm gazing at my mirror where I can see my monitor, so I actually can see you guys practicing. That's when my head is turned sideways. Follow your breath cycle. Good, so you exhale to straighten the left leg. Let the left leg get stronger and the outer heel more grounded. Inhale down to your crescent lunge. Very nice, let's do it one more time. Exhale to straighten. And inhale to come down into your crescent lunge. And then exhale, float the arms wide. Put the two blocks aside and step backwards to downward facing dog pose, please. And in your downward dog pose, press both hands firmly into the floor as usual. Make them grounded and steady. Energize both arms. Reach up with both hips so the spine feels longer. Notice it's a symmetrical pose, so it's a good time to come back to asking yourself if the inhale could be balanced with the exhale. We are going to be coming forward here in a moment to the cobra poses. So a reminder that we'll use the straw exhale during cobra pose. But with your next in-breath, please come forward to plank pose. And then exhale down to chaturanga. Point your toes. Inhale, roll up to cobra pose. Lift your heart and your gaze. And then straw exhale down to pranam. Inhale to roll up. You'll notice that the exhale takes a longer time and requires more tone in the belly. Let's use the straw exhale down. Notice the silence in the throat during this kind of straw exhale. And then once more, inhale, roll up to cobra pose, Bhujangasana. Now curl your toes under. Inhale up to plank pose. And exhale back to downward facing dog pose. And just watch for a few moments inside your downward dog pose. How does your body feel? What's happening with the breath? How do you deepen your listening and your dedication? So this is the yoga happening inside. We don't come back to dog pose and bring with us our judgments about our cobra pose. We don't reach into dog pose and come with a narrative about how we're breathing or how we're doing. Now with your next exhale, decide which foot is the more awkward foot to step forward with, and please use that one. And then step the other foot forward and return to Uttanasana. Place your blocks on either side of your ankles. And let's inhale, glide the heart forward. Inhale through the nose, look forward. And one more exhale through the straw, tiny cocktail straw. So it's a long exhale, silent in the inner ear, in the back of the throat. And now inhale, sweep your arms wide when your breath cycle comes, not when mine comes. Rise up. And exhale quietly to the heart. In this mountain pose, close your eyes and listen to the echo of that one sun salutation in the physical body, in the breath body, in your mental body, in the body of intuition and wisdom. Listen in there. And now we're going to add to the sun salutations. So you can have your computer within sight. I have to tie my hair back. Sorry, it's been making my face less visible to you. Your face isn't so visible to me either, but I know that you prefer to see me when I'm teaching. Okay. So we're going to add to the sun salutation. We're going to use the two blocks, and we'll be stepping towards Trikonasana from the floor up. Yesterday and the day before we did it from standing down, so this is going from the floor up. So join your palms together like this, please. And then inhale, sweep the hands down. And as you raise your arms up, turn your palms up before you're at shoulder height. Then keep raising, lift your heart, lift your collarbones, lift your eyes. The head will be back behind the arms. And then exhale, sweep your arms wide, bow forward using your Ujjayi exhale. Now inhale, glide your heart forward and look forward. And then with your exhale, step back with your left foot. This is called the basic lunge. Try to remember now, where was the blanket behind your right trochanter? And as you straighten your right leg, I'm going to ask you to imagine that you're turning your right foot as if you were turning your right heel in and your right toes out. Walk the blocks back until they're under your shoulders. So this is a little bit like Parsvottanasana right now. And I really want you to establish that the right leg, you're turning the knee and the toes out, so that as you now pivot your left heel down, you don't disturb or distort your right hip and thigh. Now slide your left hip back away from your right heel and start turning to triangle pose. Very good. Raise your left arm high. Beautiful. We're going to take a look at that transition a couple times this morning, so if that was confusing, please don't worry about it. But I'm going to ask you to put your mind right behind your right trochanter. That's that bony part where the blanket was. And press firmly into your right heel and your right big toe from there. And let the left arm float to the sky. And bask in your efforts like you're a starfish having a moment of reprieve from your busy starfish life. Listen to the ocean of Om sound all around you and life, including bird song and other mammals in your home. And know that you also have this inner silence in which you can hear your own wisdom, your intuition. Now to exhale, start to bring your left arm down next to your left hip and gaze down towards your right toe. You might feel the left side of the deck stretching. And then let the left arm drip back down to the block here. Pick up your left heel, bend your right knee, and place the blocks forward where you're going to be stepping forward. One big step. Let's try the other side. So I'm going to show you from the sort of the back side of the pose this time. So you'll see my side here instead of my front side for the pose. Okay, so when you straighten the left leg, I want you to sense where the blanket was behind your trochanter and really firmly press into your left foot as if you were going to turn your foot on the floor, but it's actually stuck there because you're standing on it. Okay, so keeping that turn, you should feel some action at the left outer hip right here. And then when you go to turn your pelvis to the right, it's actually a sense that you're rotating your pelvis without disturbing the left hip and thigh here. And then let's go ahead and open, widen your right hip back, root your right heel down. Turn your low belly, mid belly, chest and heart. Raise your right arm. And continue to keep a sense of strength from the back of your left hip into your left heel. I'm checking you in my mirror, in my monitor. Yeah. So it's like basking, a few moments of basking like a starfish, taking a break from the busyness of the starfish life. Just to listen to the immense sound of Om and breath, and through your inner silence, the wisdom that can come through during your yoga practice. And then when you exhale, start bringing your right arm down so that as you're gazing down towards the floor, you might feel the right side of the neck stretching. And then roll through so your right fingers find that block. You pivot your right heel up, bend your knee, place the blocks forward next to your left foot, and step up to Uttanasana. Now, one long inhale, bring the heart forward. And like a straw, exhale to Uttanasana. Using the cocktail straw makes the inner sound of the breath silent and makes the duration of the exhale quite a bit longer. Now inhale, simply glide your heart forward to put the blocks aside, and please step backwards to downward facing dog pose. And in your downward facing dog, try to breathe into the back hemisphere of the body so you have a sense that when the inhale comes in, it's like a little parachute stretching the myofascial region of the back of the body. So we're not overextending at the sacrum where it meets the lumbar spine, nor are we going to hang in the armpits. Now we have this beautiful opportunity for Cobra again. So with your inhale, glide forward to plank pose. And then exhale to your Chaturanga Dandasana. Onto the floor, point your toes. For those who would like a little bit more flexibility in their Cobra pose or a little bit higher Cobra, come to your fingertips. And then inhale, roll up Bhujangasana. Lift your heart and your gaze. And like a tiny cocktail straw, exhale to go down. And then twice more. Listen to your efforts and your body. Then place your hands on the floor. Press up to table pose, reach for your blanket roll. If you don't have a blanket roll, you don't need to use anything for this pose, or you could substitute a bolster. And come down so your low belly and pelvis are on the blanket into Makrasana. Turn your head to one side. And just watch your body after the exertion of Cobra and the straw exhale. Observe how your body unzips the back hemisphere of the body. And how your breathing can come back down to homeostasis. You're not trying to breathe right now. Your body will take care of that for you. And then place your hands beneath your shoulders, please, and press up to kneeling. And if you would like to, you can put the blanket between your hips and your ankles for kneeling. I'm going to give a demonstration so you can see something related to the triangle pose. Yeah, good. Okay. So I'm going to take both of my blocks for triangle pose here, and what I'm hoping that you'll be able to see is how we use the back side of the hip right here in this triangle pose. So I'm going to step on the diagonal on my yoga mat. Okay, so this is my left hip now. I realize I called it my right hip earlier. That's because when I'm teaching, I'm accustomed to mirroring, and it's just long-standing 25, 30 years of habit. So right here at the back of the trochanter, when you're down here on the blocks and you go to straighten your left leg, many people straighten the leg and they swing the hip out to the side. Now I'm exaggerating that, but the hip swinging out to the side is a liability for your hip and also for the pelvic floor and this inner cohesiveness of your practice. So when I do this, instead of swinging out to the side, you want to come right back here where the blanket was and press into the front foot as if you're already turning your foot on the floor, so that there's a rotation of the shin, the knee, the outer hip, the outer thigh. And this stays strong then, so that when you take the back heel down, I don't want you to then spill the pelvis backwards like this, because that triangle pose becomes a risk, again, for your sacrum now, your pelvis, low belly, pelvic floor. So we start here. Please watch one more time. I'm going to press. And I am turning my left foot on the floor, even though it doesn't move because it's weight bearing. And this is steady now at the back of the left thigh. So I have to move my right hip back to move around the left thigh to come into triangle pose. So for me, I have the sense that the back side of the pelvis is really broad, and from the front heel to the back of this hip is very long. So let's try that for you guys, and I'm going to watch you in action. So I'll put my glasses back on. When you're here, I have to see you with my glasses. When you're in the mirror, I can see you without them because it's a different distance from my eyes. Okay, so let's do 2 blocks. Let's do the right foot forward first. Thank you for watching the demo. So right foot forward. That's right, yeah. I like the wide variety of hairbands I can see in the yoga practice this morning. Okay, so on your blocks here, that makes it a little bit easier for your hips. If you were down to the floor, you'd already have your pelvis pretty closed. So with your right hip from the back of your right trochanter, slowly straighten your right leg. Look down at your right foot and imagine you're turning it to the right. Yes, that's good, Pat. Yeah, like that, Joan. And now, keeping the right leg steady, start turning your pelvis so it opens towards triangle pose. And the back heel comes down slowly without distorting your front hip. Great job. Yes. And then press into the right fingertips on your block and lift, beautiful Nikki, lift up to triangle pose. That's right, Helmut. Yes, just like that, Richie. We want the right leg now to feel like it's pretty long from your big toe up through the inner thigh. Good job, Denise, all the way to your left hip. And it might feel like the right leg's quite a bit longer than the left leg because at the moment it is actually. Broaden the back of your waist with the inhale. That's great, Linda. And once more, a deep breath in. Now, when you exhale, keep your pelvis turned to the left as it is right now and start lowering your left arm and do that kind of incrementally. So you're then sort of unwinding. You can gaze down, the left shoulder can come down. Eventually your left hand finds the block, just like that. Now let the pelvis rotate towards the floor. Good work. Let's change sides. Yeah. So now the left foot's going to be forward, right foot is back. And the two blocks again are going to give you a little bit more clearance for your pelvis and your thigh bone to communicate more gracefully with each other. So press into your left foot, and from the back of your left hip where the blanket was, start straightening your left leg slowly. Listen to your body moving through. Great. And then, as you start to rotate your pelvis to the right, consider that you don't distort your left hip along the way. Yeah, Pat, that's great. Good, Denise. Yeah, take your time right there. That's it, Rebecca. So it should feel like the right hip can reach way back from the left big toe, and the inner thigh becomes more elastic. But the outer hip becomes more stable. That's right, Nicole. Yeah. When you float the right arm up, as most of you have already done, just let that be like a starfish having relief in the busy starfish life. You're basking right now. Basking is a way of providing enough relief that we can return to the inner wisdom Vijnanamaya Kosha and be less daunted by the noise of the mind. So breathe in, let the chest and heart open. And then as you exhale, keep the hips as they are, but start turning just your right arm and your nose back down towards the floor. And your right hand can once again find the blocks. Good, Joan. And then let's step the right foot forward to meet the left foot. So it's one more Uttanasana. Yeah, good. And let's invite this Uttanasana to be something inward for about 3 or 4 breath cycles, just to reflect. Hear the sound of the breath in the silence, in the Om, and in your inner ear. So your breath is not so loud to you and not so choppy that you miss the immense silence behind the Om itself, and your inner wisdom. And then please walk your hands back up to your hips, rise up to standing. Yeah, I feel very excited for you because I can see your practice and your actions. How are you doing? You feel like you understood that? You can say like this, thank you, Pat. Yeah, you got it? Okay, I can see. Thank you. Yeah. Your cameras show me some people's kneecaps and some people, right now I see their face. Thank you, Linda Kay. Some I can see the whole body. So what I saw was arms like that. That's beautiful. Okay, let's take the blanket roll that we were using before. We're gonna sit on it now. So if you take it, I have to roll mine again because it got a little bit distorted. So you can either roll your yoga mat up if you don't have a blanket, or you can roll your blanket once more to make sure that it's firm. And when you sit on this blanket, put it on your mat diagonally, like I just did here. It's on this little diagonal like so. Bring your blocks within reach, please. And then place your right hip, only the right hip, on the blanket. It's diagonal, like this. Yeah. So in this case, the two knees are together and the feet flow back towards the remaining blanket that you have behind you. Please take one block. It's for your right hand. We're going to twist to the right. So cross your left hand to your right knee and twist around to your right. So by having support under your right hip, we've almost leveled the pelvis. For most of you, it's pretty level. For some, it's going to be slightly tipped that the right hip is down and the left hip is up. So try to keep both sides of the pelvis equally responsible. So your twist now, I'm going to ask you to sense your twisting like just above the rim of the pelvis, right across. It's even lower than the belly button. The top rim of the pelvis is right below the rim of the belly button. So twist right through there. Gaze over your right shoulder. If that's comfortable, you also could choose to close your eyes. Keeping yourself on your right hip on your blanket. Please exhale and turn to face forward for a moment. And let your body pause so that the sponge that was squeezed there, that part is complete. And then we're going to take this twist into a little bit of a forward bend. So I'll turn my angle so you can sense this. So same position. You're sitting on your blanket on just your right hip. This time you reach across to the floor without a block, and you reach the other hand in this direction, and you can see that for me, my upper back doesn't allow my left hand to reach the floor yet. So I'm going to ask you to work with this twist that the support arm is straight, and it's not important that you can get the left hand to the floor, more important that you're honest with your body right now. So right arm straight, right hip supported, keep the left hip heavy. So when your left arm is reaching, you may realize that there's a space from your left hip to your left shoulder that in daily life doesn't catch your attention. Think of the spine here as a little bit more like cat pose, not rounded per se, but not overextended like a cow pose. The right arm strong as your left hand, maybe it drifts towards the floor a little bit, maybe in time it becomes able to touch the floor. And then roll yourself back up by moving your left arm and left shoulder first, then unwind, come upright, and let's kneel in the center so everything is kind of symmetrical, and feel how there's a zigzag on the back of your body. Acknowledge the zigzag, or the zag-zig, whichever way you'd like to say it. And then take your blanket and make it on the other side, a little diagonal blanket, where you're going to be placing your left hip. You're doing great. Thank you so much. Yeah. I celebrate that I'm able to see you and in both of my circumstances, so nice. So now we need the block for the left hand, and some of you may not need it because you have long arms, and I don't. I have a longer torso and shorter arms. So when you elevate your hips on a blanket for a twist, it can help to also elevate the floor. Please twist to your left. And as you're twisting left, you can gaze over your left shoulder. You also could choose to close your eyes. Nothing much to see in the outside world right now. Your Ujjayi breath can go back to that gentle whisper from earlier, because this is not a dynamic pose. This is a Chandra, a moon pose, reflective pose. And here the pelvis is mostly upright again, so we haven't leaned forward yet. Try to keep the right hip a little bit heavy. Maybe it touches your left heel. Since you have a sense of direction for where we're going, let's now walk the left hand down to the floor so your torso is going to be on a diagonal. Your right hip will lighten a little bit from your heels, but try to keep it reaching back as you rotate. Bring your right hand towards the floor. A couple reminders, the left arm is straight and strong. Left hip on the blanket, right hip dropping towards, but maybe not touching the heels this time. You can reach earnestly with your right hand towards the twist. We're stretching the upper back in this twist, kind of like the back of the lungs. But also keep the back of the kidneys broad and the back of the diaphragm. When you're breathing in through the nose, listen for the reflective quality of the breath inside the inner ear. And you can start slowly rotating your right shoulder back, right arm back up towards sitting, rotate your right chest, bring your heart up, your collarbones. And come to kneeling so it's symmetrical. If you prefer, put your blanket between your hips and your ankles so it's easier to kneel. And rest your hands in your lap. Hopefully the zigzags that were like opposing spirals, now you're back and sideways, it's still more equal. We're coming to the most important pose in the whole practice here. So we're going to use the blanket roll and the rice bag. So for those of you who don't have a 12-pound bag of rice, Rebecca did say you could substitute a 12-pound dog for this experience. So the blanket roll I'm going to use, you might want to watch because I have 2 blankets prepared. In case you have a second blanket, you can use it as I'll be doing. So the blue blanket is the blanket roll. The yellow blanket is going to be what we call pratyahara blanket. So I'm going to sit in front of, not on the blue blanket, but in front of it. And that means that the lumbar spine is going to be supported by the blanket right at the top of the sacrum. First, I reach for my rice bag. So when you lie back, you settle out, watch out for hair clips. You settle out the weight of the rice bag across the top of the thighs and the pelvis. So that this experience now, you have this gentle curve down towards the pelvis at the legs. And then we take the pratyahara blanket, take out your hair clip and remove your eyeglasses. And you cover the eyes and the ears, and you come down to rest like this. So you can find your way. In just a moment, I will take my blanket off so I can see that you're following instructions, but I'll leave it for a few moments so that you can still see the position. So the long blue blanket is to support the spine, also supports your head. If you don't have a blanket for pratyahara, you could use a shawl or a scarf. You could use an eye pillow, a sweatshirt sleeve. If you don't have 12 pounds of rice in a bag, totally understandable that it's in your kitchen, you're using it for food. But if you don't have that, you might have a sandbag that you could use. Or you could take a weighted blanket if you have one of those and place it there. Or just place a blanket and imagine the heaviness that takes you back to the earth. Sound you'll hear now is that I'm going to take my rice bag off because I want to move so I can see you guys and check on you. You may stay still. The sounds of my movement are not meant for you to have as instruction. So as you get comfortable in your Shavasana, as you find your way there, whether you close the eyes or not, invite your eyes to go more inward. Good job. I like to see how you set up and you're taking good care of yourselves. Also taking care of each other for those of you who are practicing together. Nice work. I did just turn the music up a tiny bit. Okay, I see that the 12-pound dog is being positioned. Rebecca's Shavasana, very nice. So now as you rest, I'm going to give you a little guided self-hypnotism, which means that you are saying to yourself what I am saying. You repeat it on the inside, using the same pronouns that I use, because you're talking to yourself. So allow your gaze to go inwards. And you can say to the eyes, thank you for all the efforts to see and to be seen. Now you can rest. Let the eyes know, thank you for all the efforts of seeing and the willingness to be seen. Now the eyes can rest. To the ears, thank you. Thank you for your efforts to hear and for your efforts to be heard. Thank you to the ears for learning to listen and also to hear. Thank you, eyes. Thank you, ears, for helping me to see and be seen, to hear and to be heard. Say, thank you. Thank you for speech. Thank you for flavor. Thank you for singing. Thank you. And to the eyes, the ears, the tongue, thank you for helping me to see and be seen, to hear and be heard, to speak, to sing. Now we travel down into the landscape of the inner body, where seeing, hearing, and singing occur inside. Traveling down to the heart, the element of wind, the element of air.
You may sense you're able to see the inner wind, the inner air element. Able to also hear the inner sense of wind. And then travel down to the solar plexus, the element of fire. Imagine seeing the inner fire. Imagine hearing the luminous fire. Imagine the song of the fire. And then down to the low pelvis and the element of water. Imagine you can see this clear water. You would hear the sound of the water. You would hear its song. And then down to the pelvis and the weight we've placed on the lower body. Imagine the element of earth. That you will be able to see the earth. You have a sense of hearing this earth. And its song would come. And travel down to the legs, thighs, knees, calves, and heels. Invite the element of earth to be heavy all the way to the back of your heels. Allow all of the elements to rest a few degrees more deeply as you are seeing, hearing the song from each element. Wendell Berry said this in his poem: I go among trees and sit still. All my stirring becomes quiet around me, like circles on water. My tasks lie in their places where I left them, asleep like cattle. Then, what is afraid of me comes and lives a while in my sight. What it fears in me leaves me, and the fear of me leaves it. It sings, and I hear its song. Then, what I am afraid of comes. I live for a while in its sight. What I fear in it leaves it, and the fear of it leaves me. It sings, and I hear its song. After days of labor, mute in my consternations, I hear my song at last, and I sing it. As we sing, the day turns, the trees move. And now you may quietly let your breath gently deepen. I go among trees and sit still. All my stirring becomes quiet around me. Sense this inner place even as you now deepen your breath once more and add a little movement to your toes and your fingers. And then please bend one knee at a time and roll to your right side. Once you roll to your right, you can then use both hands to gently come back up to sitting. And thank you. Come up and take a comfortable seat for a few moments. And I'll share the poem once again. It's quite a profound poem, and I'll also put it on the website. So you can rest your hands where you like, and if it's helpful for you to listen more to the words, you're welcome to close your eyes. This is Wendell Berry. He said, I go among trees and sit still. All my stirring becomes quiet around me, like circles on water. My tasks lie in their places where I left them, asleep like cattle. Then what is afraid of me comes and lives a while in my sight. What it fears in me leaves me. What it fears in me leaves me. And the fear of me leaves it. It sings, and I hear its song. Then what I am afraid of comes. I live for a while in its sight. What I fear in it leaves it, and the fear of it leaves me. It sings, and I hear its song. After days of labor, mute in my consternations, I hear my song at last, and I sing it. As we sing, the day turns, the trees move. And please join your hands together at your heart. May our practice today support all the beings with whom we are going to be interacting. And may that then support all the beings with whom they will be interacting. And may this beneficial practice flow outwards to support all beings everywhere. We'll sing. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. It's almost hard to sing because I feel so happy. I'm having to, resist smiling so I can sing. I feel so happy to be with you and to feel this poem has been in my life for such a long time, and I keep hearing it, how it deepens in my life too. So I'm singing and trying to not also smile too big or laugh with happiness at the same time. How are you guys doing?